So today we're going to start talking about training with injuries. This is big for me right now. I've got like a tweak in my back that I think is a reactivation of an old injury that I got in 2024. I got slammed on my head pretty bad at jiu-jitsu and it kind of tweaked my back. And um, I'm not sure exactly where the reactivation came from or if it's a new injury. I think probably jiu-jitsu, but Um, it's a very relevant topic for anybody who is either an athlete or anybody who trains in the gym. Um, just learning to train while you're injured and what that looks like and how to make the most of it. So, the first thing that I want to address is that there's an entire mental aspect. Injuries suck. They're not fun. Oftentimes they're painful and can leave you feeling like you're not capable of doing and you might not be capable of doing certain things, but they're going to leave you feeling like you're not capable. And what we want to do is kind of redirect those thoughts. So I'm going to say something that might come off as a little woo-woo, and I'm not trying to go that way, but let's have a sense of gratitude about the things that our body can do. And the reason I say this is because when we get stuck in this loop of, I just can't train, or I can't move, or I can't do X thing because I'm injured, I'm not going to go to the gym because I'm injured, I'm not going to do my sport because I'm injured, then we're often leaving things on the table that we could actually be doing just fine with. So let's address this as have a sense of gratitude for the things that your body is still capable of doing. And that, of course, is going to depend on what kind of injury you have and how serious it is. Like mine, I don't think is very serious. I can still lift heavy weights. Like I did cleans and heavy RDLs yesterday. And even though it's a back issue, I did not seem to have any issue. Where I do have issue is rotation and side bending to my left side. Like that hurts. This is fine. And so take into account what you can and can't do and be grateful for the things that you can do and start seeking solutions. So the first thing is getting that sense of gratitude. The second thing is, now that we have accounted for what our bodies can do, we need to use that to train as similarly as we were training before. You might not be able to train very similarly at all, depending on how bad your injury is. But oftentimes, you have a tweaked something or other, and you can actually still train just fine. So, for instance, I will not be doing any throwing or gymnastics for probably another week. I might be doing some light jiu-jitsu, some easy rounds. I won't be wrestling anybody. But I can still lift weights, which is great. So I will be doing just that. In your case, you might have an injury that stops you from doing some of the lifts that you like. For instance, on Monday, I will be doing heavy squats. If my injury was to stop me from doing heavy squats, I might seek out to do a leg press somewhere. I might seek out a belt squat, something that allows me to get a similar training stimulus without activating my injury, right? So I'm going to avoid the things that directly hurt it, and I know that they hurt it. And I'm going to find something to replace that is as similar as possible. Now, if, for instance, you have like a knee issue, you might not be able to squat that day. That's okay. You might be able to do something lighter. You might be able to do something with less range of motion. You might be able to focus on your hamstring development through Romanian deadlifts, or something else that's going to still strengthen your legs, even if you can't do it the exact same way. We're going to try to find something that is as similar as possible without spiking. The next thing that I'm going to say is to find the areas that are associated with the things that hurt and scale them back. So for instance, like I said, I'm having a hard time with rotating and side bending, but I found that if I roll around a little bit on the floor, if I do some rope flow, and it's a very gentle way of getting that motion in, then it's a lot more tolerable. And maybe over time, that movement will start to open that up, will start to create blood flow that will help me to heal that area. It's not a guarantee, but generally speaking, if it feels good, if it feels like it is progressing something and it's not spiking you, then it's probably a good idea to do it. So once again, in my case, some rope flow with some rolling around on the ground. I feel a little bit more open than I did before. I still would not want to do any heavy rotational work right now. I don't want to do any fast rotational work right now. But as I work on those things that allow me to get a scaled back sensation for those things that do hurt right now, I can slowly over time widen them out, which is essentially what physical therapy does, right? So when you start working with a physical therapist, they are going to find a way to strengthen that area and the areas around it in a way that's not going to spike you, and to, over time, increase your capacity in that area. The next thing I would say is, if possible, don't reduce your activity levels. And in fact, a lot of times, increased activity levels, even if it's not as intense, will actually be beneficial. In my case, I'm going to try to up my step count. Like, I'm going to be aiming for 20,000 steps a day. And the reason why is very simple, which is that I'm going to still get some spinal movement from walking, and it's going to be very gentle. And so I'm probably not going to hurt myself doing it. And I will likely continue to open up more and more and more of that capacity. But at the same time, because my jiu-jitsu will be dialed back, this gives me a little bit of extra activity to stay healthy. That's often a problem when you're injured, especially if you're an athlete and man, how do I do my sport? And maybe you can't do your sport when you're injured, but you can probably still do parts of it. For instance, like I said, I will be doing light rolls today, or the next, I'll roll today. I'll be doing some light rolls today. I'm not going to be going with anybody who's going to want to go 100 miles an hour. And if the rolling hurts, then I will just do some drilling. I'll just find a way to continue to work in a way that doesn't hurt me, where I can still improve. And whether it's gym or sport, that is usually the direction that you would like to go in, is what is this thing that I can do that doesn't hurt my injury? How do I keep my training as similar as possible? Can I keep my activity level up? Can I keep a positive mindset? Not that a positive mindset is going to fix everything, but it certainly helps when you're not being miserable. And last but not least, don't forget to recover as well. Get some time relaxing. It might sound a little bit paradoxical that I just said get more activity, but chill out a little bit as well. A lot of times, just resting those areas can be very, very beneficial. I do have a good friend who's a PT, and he had a colleague that said, I wish I was good of a PT as time, because over time, wounds tend to heal, right? And finally, don't let your diet go to shit. Don't let all the good habits that you've developed go to shit, because those things are going to be the thing that's going to primarily keep you on track while your capacity is limited. So in essence, those are my thoughts on training while injured. Find a way to train as similar as possible without hurting yourself. Find a way to slowly increase the capacity in the injured area. Have a sense of gratitude. Don't let your activity level drop. Get rest still. Don't live a crappy lifestyle where you're eating like crap, sleeping like crap. Don't use that as a way to, you're bored now and you just I can't do it. Well, you can still do those things and still make the most out of your situation. Anyway, just some quick thoughts. Hope they help.